Hi, my name is Scott Schneider, and today we're going to make mashed potatoes. So I like to use a nice Idaho potato, and you just want to peel your potatoes. Actually, you going to zoom down or no?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. You want to peel your potatoes. And then you want to cut them into 1.5 by 1.5 inch pieces, maybe a little less. Let's take a look. Depending on the size of the potato, cut it in half, cut it in a quarter, and then in half again. So you have pieces about that size. Now, when you cut your potatoes, you might have some big potatoes, you might have small potatoes, but you want them to be all around the same size, because you're going to cook these potatoes together. Now, if we cook a small piece and we cook a big piece, the small piece is going to fall apart and be overcooked before this one's done. So you want your potatoes to evenly cook. So the more similar size that you cut them, the more evenly cooked they'll be, and a better finished product you're going to have. Okay, all of our potatoes are chopped in a very similar size. We put them in a pot and fill it with cold water. You want to bring these up slowly from cold to hot. You don't want to put them in hot water, because then what happens is the outside is going to cook quicker than the inside. It's going to start cooking right away. It's going to break up, overcook, and just be a pile of mush in the bottom of your pot. So you bring them up from cold water. They're going to cook evenly through, and it's going to be a better product for mashing. And then we're going to add our cream and butter, salt, and pepper, and it's going to be the best. So we have our pot well covered. You also don't want to have too little water. You want to have 1.5 inches to 2 inches of water over the potatoes. Okay, we put our potatoes on the fire, and they're going to come to a boil. Once they come to a boil, you lower the heat, so we just have a nice low simmer. And I'm going to show you when they're done. Figure should take around 15 to 20 minutes for those potatoes to fully cook, but it completely depends on how big or small you cut your potatoes. And don't be scared. Pull one out, break it, and eat it. If it still has a bite, it's not ready. If it's soft and tender, it's ready. So don't be concerned. Okay, our potatoes have come to a rolling boil. We're going to lower the heat a little bit so we get just a nice simmer. You don't want to roll. Whoops, went off. We're just going to get it so it's just a little low, so you get a nice roll. Give them a little mix one time, no big deal. Just the bottom might be a little hotter than the top, and then we're just going to let them simmer for about 10 minutes, 15 minutes till they're fork tender, and we will check that out in a moment. Okay, so the potatoes are ready, and I'm going to show you how you know. Now, I checked them 3 or 4 times when you weren't with me, and you just slice the thick piece in half and feel it. You'll know right away. And even if you don't know by putting a fork into it, cut a little piece off. Tender, moist, no hard bite like a raw potato. That's how you know it's done. That's it. That's how you know it's done. Now we're going to strain these potatoes, and we're going to make them into mashed potatoes. Okay, well, now we have to strain our potatoes. You can strain them in a colander, a strainer, whatever you like. I happen to have a china cap, and I'm going to strain them in my china cap. This Leify's going to hold it for me while I strain them. I'm going to just dump it right in there.
Whoopsie.
Now, the thing with making mashed potatoes, you want to thoroughly strain your potatoes. You want as little moisture in those potatoes as possible, because you want those potatoes to suck up the butter, the cream, or the milk, everything you're going to put in them. That's what's going to make the flavor. So you want them dry as possible. Whoever says, some people I've heard say, oh yeah, you put some of the water from the mashed potatoes back in the potatoes when you mash them, don't ever do that. That's a bad thing. So I'm going to let them drain for a minute. Even some chefs I know, they'll put them in the oven for like 5 minutes and really dry those potatoes out a bit. You don't want to cook them. I don't do that, but you can. So we just want to make, if I made myself clear, I want these potatoes thoroughly drained. Okay, cut. Okay, there are a few different ways to mash your potatoes. While they're draining, I'm going to show you. There's a masher, the old-fashioned way. You put it in your pet and you mash it that way. There's a press ricer, where you put your potatoes in here, and then you push them through, and then you get the nice rice potato. This way makes them very consistent. You won't get any lumps. I like a little lumps in my mashed potatoes, but that's one way to make them perfectly smooth. And there's a crank ricer. These come in all different sizes. You put your product in here, and you crank it around and around, and it keeps pushing the potato through this sieve as it drops into your bowl, waiting for the cream and butter and whatever you're going to add to them. So those are the 3 different ways. We're going to go with the old style masher, because that's probably what you have in your home. and I think it does a great job. If you're making an abundance of mashed potatoes, I wouldn't recommend this method, but for what we're doing today, and for you at home, I think it'll be great. Okay, we have our drained potatoes, and we have our pot that we're gonna mash them in. Now, I'm wiping it dry, because what do I say? No excess moisture goes into these potatoes. So I'm gonna drop my well-drained potatoes into my pot. I have some melted butter here. And I'm gonna say about just under a half a pound of butter. I'm gonna throw that right in there. About a cup of cream. And then we'll see where we're at. I'm gonna throw in some kosher salt and black pepper. Some people like to use white pepper in the mashed potatoes because they don't like to see those little black specks, but let them know there's pepper and salt in there. That's what makes it good. And just mash away. Now they might seem to be a little soupy in the beginning. Don't worry about it. They're going to tighten up a bit as the potato continues to absorb that butter and cream. And you can substitute with milk, you can substitute with margarine, you can substitute with anything you want, but to make the best mashed potatoes, use heavy cream and whole butter. Don't be scared to season it with salt and pepper. And while seasoning, do not forget, taste, taste, taste. So I'm going to taste right now, see if we need more salt and pepper. It's perfect, but don't worry about going back there. So it's going to give it one last mix up. And there you go, delicious mashed potatoes. You get more compliments on these than anything you've ever made. So then you take your mashed potatoes, put them in the bowl you're serving in. There you go, delicious mashed potatoes. Family's gonna love them, and they're gonna love you for making for them. So keep making those mashed potatoes. I love you.